Order. Have roll call.
Mayor Truman.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bass.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Stan.
Here. They'll stand for the invocation. Please.
Father God, we thank you for this day. We're thankful for all that you do for us. As we come upon Thanksgiving, we just want to stop. Thank you for our prosperity in our community this year. Thankful for continued prosperity in the new year. Lord, I just want to be thankful for the men and women who serve our community, who protect it, who manage it, who steward it, Lord. I just ask that every citizen in this community of every faith, Lord, would help us come together in unity, to be good stewards and good examples, and help take care of this place you've given us called home. Please thank you and we praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or?
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the approval of the November 5th meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2024 regular city council meeting as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the November 5th meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. No presentations or proclamations tonight.
There is. Mayor Truman, there is.
There is? Oh, okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's my pleasure to introduce a couple of guests we have here this evening. I'm going to start off with Nicholas Manning. He started with us October 28th to hold the position of utilities manager. He comes to us. He lives down here in Wichita. He comes to us from McAllister, Oklahoma, where he was running a water plant and I believe 2 wastewater plants. He was as well over distribution and collections. He comes to us with a vast amount of utility construction experience. He has just literally hit the ground running and he's doing a fantastic job. So Nick, would you like to come up?
Good evening, council. Mayor. Glad to be here tonight, but I'm sure we'll get to know each other real soon. Want to do a good job for you guys, so I appreciate the opportunity and thank you very much.
Okay, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next, we have Skylar Fleetwood. He started on October 28th as well. That was a very good day for us. Skylar lives down here in Wichita. He comes to us. He's our new streets employee. He comes with a varied construction experience, concrete experience. He's a truck driver, and he was very, very excited to come to work here. He has 2 children, Zoe, age 6, and Angus, age 2. Tyler, you want to come on up and say hi?
Hi. I just want to thank everyone for being so welcoming. I'm super excited to work here. It's been awesome.
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Okay. Nothing else. We'll move on to the public forum. Anyone here from the public that'd like to address the council on anything that's not on the agenda? And I have 2 requests here. We'll start with Jim Gregory. Would you go get him, please?
Mayor, City Council, I'm Jim Gregory. I'm representing the Lions Club tonight.
just reminding everyone we're having a community Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day. It'll be 12:30 to 1:30 at the Methodist Church at Meridian and 5th Street. It's free. Everybody's welcome to come. We're going to be delivering, with the help of the police department, about 45 to 50 meals to shut-ins and the rest that come. But you're all invited to come.
Thank you, Jim.
Can we make a note that he was looking at Brent when he said,
Just because I haven't paid my dues yet this year.
Okay. Thanks you, Jim. Moving on to James Bogart. I understand Mr. Bogart's death, so
His name is James Bogart. He lives at 703 North. Wakefield, sorry. Wakefield. He had a meeting with Brent and the chief of police and John with the HOA about the parking. He was wanting to see if we could put in a speed bump or an area, something where you could easier to see around the areas because of the way the cars drive, because it's the safety for the children. But most people don't pay attention to the signs, so they just drive too fast through that particular area. But you'd like to see maybe a speed bump or some signage, something in that area to try to get some people to slow up. No parking or whatever can be done.
what's the intersection, Wakefield and what?
Yeah, it's because Redbud will turn into.
Redbud turns into Wakefield? Okay.
And there's a section that is kind of it's more of a half moon that goes from Redbud to Wakefield and connects back to Redbud. And what we're going to explore, given the okay, of course. So what we're going to explore is looking at doing no parking along the south section of Wakefield, and then carrying that around through on the east side of Wakefield, and also on the north side of Wakefield. So the kind of that whole half moon or half crescent shape Wakefield Avenue off of Redbud area. The HOA president, who is with us as well, is talked to the postmaster. They're going to potentially relocate mailboxes on the west side to then the east side where the no parking is, to then accommodate that. And then the HOA has their own, of course, covenances that restricts the number of parking vehicles overnight in that area. So trying to alleviate what's happening now is that corner on Wakefield is really congested, and they double park, and you can barely fit an ambulance through that area. And so that's the area that Mr. Bogart lives, on that corner, on the west side of that corner, that he would like to see maybe a speed bump added in those areas, in addition to no parking on those sides. So we will look into this if that's something that the council so chooses at some point.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business. From the ground up donation request. Sarah Warren.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. So my name is Sarah Warren, and I'm the president. Is that close enough? Just get it closer. To eat the mic. That's okay. Okay. And I'm the president of From the Ground Up, which is a nonprofit here in town that just focuses on serving the community and the families of Valley Center. So last year we approached you guys about a donation a little later in our Christmas season, and you were very generous with a $500 donation. One of the council members, I'm not sure which one, said that if we come back next year, there was the potential to maybe get a little more. So we submitted our request a little earlier this year. Just to tell you a little bit about our program that we have going on right now, Hornet Holidays aims to provide families and kids in the community that may not be able to get Christmas gifts or afford Christmas gifts by matching them with generous community members who are able to purchase those gifts in the form of like a virtual angel tree. So we partner with the police department as well as Pathway Valley Center and adopt out our kids. And then we have adopters that sign up. They go out and purchase the gifts after we collect that information from the families. And then the second Saturday in December, we distribute those gifts to the families. They have the opportunity to come to the intermediate school, pick up their gifts, have them wrapped, go through a stuff a sock where they're able to stuff a stocking for each kid, and then also go through our clothing closet. And then each family is also provided a gift certificate to Leakers as well, based on the number of people in their household. So just for reference, last year in 2023, we serviced 245 kids. About 85 families. And then this year, at the end of our collection, we are at 315 kids and 108 families. So we've seen a massive increase, which obviously puts a lot more strain on us. We know that times are hard for everybody, but our community has really stepped up, and the adopters, we had more than enough people to cover. I know working with the police department, they have all their kids covered, and Pathway has all their kids covered. And so now what's left is just collecting money to help with those food gift certificates. So can I answer any questions for you?
Yeah.
Actually, my question's for either Mr. Clark or Mr. Miller. We did $500 last year in this, forgive me, I forget which bucket did we pull from for donations? And since we're coming up on the end of the year, I'm wondering what we can donate.
We have an economic development miscellaneous fund that starts the year at $20,000. It's fund 010-51-2500. With about 45 days left in the year, we have $2,759 left in that fund.
How many, I don't know how to word this, how many donations between now and the end of the year, do we have any donations that we know are going to be asked of us?
I'm unaware of anything else, but there's almost constantly requests for some of these funds, and the answer is going to be yes. But as far as the big one that I know of coming like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm unaware of anything.
Okay.
I think, in my opinion, we could certainly meet last year's request, and if you would like to increase it, that would be your decision. But the fund has $2,759 left. I kind of anticipated this.
Okay.
Good evening again. And so that fund is also, used for advertising dollars as well in the community. And so, those are things that haven't come out quite yet. So a lot of times, throughout the holiday season, there's, I don't know how many different ads in the paper that we get requested for. And so, those are, in that dollar amount as well. They're not, typical requests, but like the January Jamboree, that typically comes out in December, not January, for those ads. When we do the band cups, just like all those types of things. And so I think the wrestling one, I can't remember, the basketball one's coming up. And so the ones that you see in the school programs, they do come out of that fund because that's kind of our fundraiser or our community endowment that we use. The same thing, with PBS and those things come out of that fund. I'm not sure where we're at, if we gave that full amount yet this year or not, or if that still has some to come out.
Okay.
So, I would recommend, either the same, the 500, or, if you want to increase it, to 750 or something, that's something that we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Clint?
Well, you might not like this. My proposal, I think we should increase to 1,000. I mean, if you look at all the good it does in our community pretty much year round, my proposal would be 1,000.
Yes.
I will back that 100%. I was at this event last year, helped out with the wrapping, spent many hours there. This is such an impactful thing. $1,000 is well worth it.
Yes, I forgot. We did receive a request from the Historical Society for $10,000 from Al Hobson. That has not come on a formal request yet, but will be coming in December. Just want to let you know.
And with that, I would say if any of you would like to come and help wrap gifts or volunteer, that will be December 14th from 9 to noon at the intermediate school. It is really cool just to be able to see people show up in all their Christmas gear, and the police department's always there, and the firefighters, and the families are just always so very appreciative of everything that we're able to do, which we obviously can't do without donations.
What was the date on that
December 14th,
and the time?
9 to noon.
Be ready to move, Mayor. It's quick. There's a lot of work to be done in a short amount of time.
Lots of,
As you said, that's 3 hours. That's not a very long time.
nope.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
I'll make a motion to approve $1,000 donation from the ground up.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the donation of $1,000 from the ground up. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. And let me know if there's anything we can do to help you guys, if you're interested and want to come hang out with us sometime.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, water treatment plant phase 2 contract with Burns and McDonnell.
All right. Good evening again. We have with us this evening Jacob White with Burns and Mac and Travis Stryker with CAS. And they have a short presentation, and then they will go over the contract for phase 2 of our water treatment plant. With that, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Good evening, everybody. I am Jake White with Burns & McDonnell, and it's really nice to see you all again. What is in front of you all tonight is really the 1.5 years worth of effort, hard work, collaboration between Burns & McDonnell, CAS, and the city staff to look into what water treatment would look like for the city of Valley Center, and really proud and happy to be able to present to you all tonight a contract for us to move forward. And what the contract is that is in front of you is to finalize the design and actually construct and start up a brand new water treatment facility for the city. And we just thought it would be worthwhile to at least have a little bit of a background, kind of talk a little bit about what the project is, and just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. Right. So when we first started this project, we sat down and we brainstormed and we said, okay, what are the goals? What are the goals that everybody has for this project that we're going to use to carry throughout the duration of the evaluation, the design, ultimately through the construction and through the startup? So we said, first and foremost, innovative and sustainable solutions, ease of expansion. So what ease of expansion means is the facility is designed to produce 1.4 million gallons of water per day. But as the city grows and as water supply grows, you want to easily be able to expand the water treatment facility to cost effectively meet your water needs moving forward. Okay, so that was a very important criteria at the very beginning. To maximize your raw water resources, obviously you've got wells. We want to be able to maximize the operation of those wells for your direct benefit. It's got to be affordable. Right. So capital cost, operational cost, very, very important. Something that we kept in mind throughout the entire duration of the project. And then finally, water quality that is consistent with your existing source. We didn't want to find ourselves in a situation where the water quality is different once the facility is brought online. So making sure that it's consistent was very important for all of us as we evaluated options. And so the treatment process that was selected is what we call in the industry green sand and membrane softening. Okay, really what green sand does is it removes iron and manganese from the water. And membrane softening does exactly that. It softens the water and gives that nice finished product that's not too hard, that your customers are used to, that you're going to have very, very clean water. So when we evaluated the different alternatives to be able to provide the goals that we established earlier, we arrived at green sand and membrane softening. And when we compared that to other alternatives, right, just kind of talk through this, it had the lowest capital cost of any option, right? It had the lowest O&M cost, okay? Highest ability for remote and automated operations. That was a very important criteria we looked at, is how can this facility be operated and easily operated, let's say if you have to do it remotely, right? And a situation can arise where you need to operate a facility remotely. Highest ease of expansion, so that's easy expansion. This system is modular in nature, so it's kind of, I think about it like Legos. Okay, you can just add another Lego block and be able to expand your treatment production. The ability to meet future regulations. Regulations change. The use of membrane treatment. Okay, we say membrane softening here. Membrane treatment is the best available technology to meet future regulations. And then finally, at the end of the day, something we've always had in mind is the ability to meet the future goal of wastewater reuse for the city. Okay, maximizing your water resources, putting yourself in the best situation moving forward to have diversified water supply. All of this works in together to allow us to really fine tune and establish what that treatment process was going to look like. Right. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Travis and go through a couple renderings and then the schedule of the project.
Travis Stryker with CAS Constructors. Again, Burns McDonnell and CAS are a joint venture, so we're together on this project, working hand in hand. And just it's important, I think, to realize what it's going to look like. The nice thing about a green sand membrane plant is that it ends up all being inside. And, you know, we have winters in Kansas and all that stuff, so it's easier to operate. You get consistent facility there for people to be working inside of. We will be building an additional tank next to the existing water tower, and that's really there for backwashing and purpose of operating the water plant. It also could be additional capacity for the city. So that's what it looks like from the outside, and we have a few renderings of what it'll look like in the inside. So we'll have chemical rooms. We'll have rooms where the membranes sit themselves. This shows the finished water pumps. This is an example of one of the chemical rooms. So there'll be a couple different chemical rooms and then a large process room. In terms of storage, or in terms of schedule, I know it's a little hard to read there, but one of the biggest values of design build is not only were we able to go through and vet all those different options and come up with the best solution, is we'll be able to go out there, we'll finish design as Jake talked about. That's what this contract includes. It also includes the procurement, fabrication, and delivery of all the different process pieces of equipment that are needed. And we can go out and start building this project before design is complete. And how we do that, we work with KDHE and the design team to work on things like the structures for the buildings, the concrete, the foundations, the building themselves. All that has to start and can start while this process equipment's being made, right? We need the building there by the time it shows up, but that's the nice thing about design build is we can start early. So we'll be out there hopefully in August, or if not earlier, of 25 to start construction. And then we'll be wrapping up construction towards the end of 26, going through all the startup and testing, working with city staff on training, making sure they're very comfortable on how to operate the plant. From October 26 to February of 27, we'll be turning on a new water plant for the city. So with that, other questions you all have for us? Answer.
Okay, listen.
So just to bring up a hot topic point from Wichita's learning experience with their water treatment plant coming online, of what water is going to be used to test that thing when it's up and running. That's a huge amount of water that Wichita is looking at as potential wastewater and what they're going to do with it. How about our plant? How's that going to be in comparison to what we would be facing if we were in the same drought situation we are today, or even worse?
Excellent question. And the benefit that you have and what makes your facility different than Wichita's is you've got your existing 3 wells that are in operation. Right now, that water is actually being sent to the city of Wichita. Okay, so during startup, we're going to take that well water, right, and start up the facility, but you're still going to be utilizing your connection with the city of Wichita. Okay, so while it's similar, you've got a startup of a water treatment facility. Here it's different because you're not depending on your existing raw water supply, which is your wells, to provide drinking water for your citizens. Okay, you're still going to be utilizing that connection with Wichita during the startup of the water treatment plant.
And then you brought up what I call purple pipe. That's going to be kind of put in and to be connected to at a later date.
So no, purple pipe is not going to be installed at this point in this phase of the project. The treatment technology that has been chosen, right? This membrane filtration, you maybe have heard the term reverse osmosis or nanofiltration. That is a component of high level reuse when you talk about indirect or direct potable reuse. Okay, so there is consistency in the treatment process, but no, a purple pipe network isn't going to be installed. That's more of a wastewater, taking wastewater effluent and being able to divert that for, irrigation of golf courses, things like that. That's where purple pipe fits in. This project itself does not have a purple pipe network, but it's all part of this overall master plan of how all of these components fit together to allow the city, when the time is right for reuse, to be able to implement that.
So I believe the other gentleman said that the cost in this contract is from start to finish. It's one cost. There's no, it's all encompassing as far as construction, design, and everything.
Right.
Okay. Excluding any extra stuff that may turn up. Okay. And then the next question is for Mr. Miller or Mr. Clark. It's coming out of that loan or grant that we got from the KDHE, correct?
Yes, so it's coming out of the water fund, the water revolving fund, money that the state gets from the feds. Now, I will say what's not in this number, of course, is what's required of us to have that loan through KDHE, and that's our own owner's representative. And so you'll have on your next meeting, I didn't get it done in time for this one, making sure to meet those deadlines, getting the agenda out. But it will be on the PEC side for testing and inspections, and then also their oversight. And so then there's probably roughly an extra 1.2 million, I think it was, give or take, that with those two contracts that'll be coming up. One you've already signed with PEC, and then there'll be a supplemental for actual inspection services. And that is a requirement to then have KDHE's funding. So what we will do is we will request an increase of that loan amount, just with everything. Once everything now comes together and after the council makes a decision tonight, then we'll request an increase of that amount to KDHE in the loan dollar amount. And so you might have a supplemental agreement with that ordinance coming up in the near future. But it's just, there's so many steps like they talked about. We've been doing this for a year and a half, and that funding has been all of a year and a half, if not more, I think, Brian, when it comes to that. And we'll continue to ask Senator Moran for additional funds and wherever we possibly can while those are still available.
I had one more question. Mr. Arbuckle, did you review this contract? You did have not seen that one. That's concerning.
No, Barry, you did. This is the one that we had the meeting on, and we redlined, went back and forth on the questions. We had the conference calls.
Okay.
Gina?
Okay,
We had a virtual meeting in my office.
that brings me to the question I have about the contract. The force majeure clause provides protection for the contractor. What protection do we have?
I may just ask for some clarification of what protection do you have in terms of what other events?
Tornado.
Yeah, so the project will have builder's risk insurance included in it. And so that provides all coverage for those natural disasters. And so financially, the insurance policy will cover the cost of those things.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better.
Yeah. A very important insurance policy. Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
And online, February 27th. Perfect.
I just had a comment about this whole project. I've been on council for 11 plus years. We've been pushing to try to get something like this, and we didn't have any at that time. It's real easy just to leave everything we have, the buying water from Wichita. This drought, this most recent drought, because we've had them before, where Cheney Lake's almost dried up before. It's not a new thing, and it's not going to go away. And the best time to do this is yesterday. So the second best is today. We can't keep kicking the can, and I'm glad that council's finally doing this. It's a lot of money, but the community is well worth the investment, and we don't have, if we weren't doing this and didn't have this already, a year and a half in, we're held hostage to what Wichita demands we pay for it, and we're not who their number one's. They're looking out for Wichita. So this is very important for our city and our community. So thank you to council and everybody else that's been pushing this, because it's sorely needed.
And I have to make a comment just because, I think the importance of, being forward thinking and, I know looking back in the past, but, that's why, it was cheaper yesterday. Just a point of reference. When the city started looking and exploring this multiple times, the most recent one was 2016, and that water treatment plant would have been $6.5 million, or almost the same size of a treatment plant that we are now pulling the trigger, hopefully, if the council so chooses, for $20 million. So just put that in perspective. And so, it really is. You're making decisions for not just today, but for 20 years, 30 years. 50 years down the road is what your task as the elected officials in the governing body to make those decisions. So thank you for those comments, Councilmember Anderson. I did want to at least make sure that we did remember the history a little bit of that.
Motion to approve contract with Burns and McDonnell CAS Constructors in the amount of $19,734,790 and authorize mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Burns and McDonnell. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you all very much. This is very exciting. Exciting for us, exciting for me. Can't wait to start turning some dirt out there. So thank you.
Would I need another project I can drive around and see? Okay, moving on to item C, the fence discussion, 748 North Wakefield.
All righty. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was brought up during citizens' comments a few weeks ago, and I was asked to just kind of give you guys a background on how the city does fencing permitting, especially when it comes to drainage and utility easements. You can scroll down to the map. Yes, please. So on your screen, you'll see this is specifically the Ridgefield edition. Green is showing you water lines, sewer lines. Blue is showing you water lines, and then the kind of looks orangey up there, but the other color is wastewater, storm sewer, lines. We also have what are called, so we have utility easements and drainage easements. They can be one and the same. Is that map included? Yes, thank you. So on this map, you'll see CL20, which is center line, 20 foot. So there's a 20-foot easement. It goes 10 foot on either side of the center line. DR is drainage and UE is utility easement. So it is a drainage and utility easement. We can allow fences to be in easements. However, these several specifically in Ridgefield have what are called surface inlets. So water is flowing from houses, from properties, down to these surface inlets to then take the water out to the detention pond in this neighborhood. With those surface inlets, we do not want the water being impeded, because if a fence is keeping the water from flowing, it can keep it from draining off of other people's property, cause them problems. It also, if a surface inlet is fenced in within our easement and it gets clogged, our staff has to be able to get to it to maintain it, and or we hope it doesn't get clogged in general, so we can go check on it ahead of time. But in the event that it did get clogged and we have another rainstorm coming, we need to be able to get to it in a timely manner and quickly and efficiently to get it cleaned out before the next rain event happens. So fencing does not allow us to get equipment back in there. Depending on the type of blockage, we could need to get larger equipment in there, a sewer jetter to get water down into the pipe to push water through to get the blockage cleared. So fencing does not make it easily accessible for us. And so every property in the Ridgefield Edition that has a surface inlet in their easement has not been allowed to fence within that easement. There are 3 surface inlets. Thank you for going back to that. There are 3 surface inlets. So I'll start at the bottom of the map. So where you see the R1-2E, that square next to it is a surface inlet. Further up, where it says Wakefield Avenue, that orange line kind of running diagonal to there's a square right near the sewer line, near that green line in the middle. And then further up on the map, there's the last one, and it's right under the R1-8A. That's another surface inlet. All 3 of those are in drainage and utility easements, and not any of those easements have fencing to the center line. They're all to just the property line. We recommend that we continue that practice just to ensure that water continues to flow and that staff has access to those inlets to service them. Rodney's department handles the stormwater piece. My department handles the fencing permitting. So if you have questions, we both are here for questions. 10 foot off the property line. Thank you. That's why the easement is off the property line. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a hard time telling people what they can do with it, can and can't do with their property. I get the need for being able to access. Why can't there be like a compromise with might have cast a wrought iron fence? Because I know this has happened before in Fiddler's Creek, before your time. They had there's 2 houses right next to each other right there off of 5th Street. They're right by that culvert that goes from the pond down through. They had a privacy fence, wood privacy fence, and had some heavy rains, and you could tell that the water didn't cooperate with that fence. So they replaced certain sections with wrought iron. I just have a hard time with this.
And
it also kind of looks like a poor design if we're putting it in the middle of a stretch of houses for that access point. And I'm not into the design stuff, but Mr. Stam is going to comment on that part.
Well, real quick on the Fiddler's Creek. So there's not a surface inlet in that area. That's a drainage easement.
Mhm.
And so fences, we do allow wrought iron fences, those things in utility and drainage easements as long as there's water flow. It's the structure itself. And so when we say a surface inlet, the city now owns a structure that's in the ground that moves stormwater in a pipe. So it goes in that surface inlet into a pipe that then moves that water. And Fiddler's Creek, most of that, at least in the area that you spoke of and like behind my house, that's all surface drainage. And so there's no actual structure. So I just want to make sure you understood the difference. And as far as the design goes, that's, we received the plans, of course, from the engineers of the developer and the subdivision. It goes through a process of review by city staff, as well as PEC as our engineer. And then, those are the recommendations then they make of having utility easements and drainage easements and what have you for this purpose. So if that storm surface inlet wasn't there, then it would be a different situation like the rest of it.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. So can this individual put fence on the backside of his property at all?
Yes, there's currently fence there now. It's just off of the utility easement, the drainage easement.
Can you pull up the satellite image? I'm
not sure how updated that is.
Well, but it'll give me a better, or actually this might help. Is it the dash line that he can put it on?
Approximately the dash line is where they can put their fence. So it's about 10 foot in off the property line.
Okay.
That's what we would, when we go out and when we do our permitting and reviewing, this one specifically be 10 foot off. Now it might be 9.6, but it's approximately 10 foot off the property line.
I'm glad to hear that he can actually have a fence and you're not approving, it's not a, you can't have a fence at all. I still have a hard time with what I've already said. And I will say the memo, I was kind of lost on the memo at points. So, and I'm not going to go through on why I got lost, but when I was reading it, I got confused in a couple spots. So just let you know.
And just so council, so Redbud Avenue here, that's where the city's access is. Then to go straight down to the east from Redbud, which is a paved surface. Then in between those fences to gain access to that inlet, that surface inlet. If you look even on this map, the house I believe that we're discussing actually is over the setback lines, even in the front as well as the side setbacks. And so those houses are narrow in there, they're tight. So we wouldn't be able to fit equipment in between houses if we had to get something back there. And so, that's why you do have, the drainage and utility easement in the rear of this property where you can still have those fences, just not in that 10 foot from the property line on both sides.
Is there a way we can mitigate this for future plans?
Well, every plat, every time that we look at developing a new piece of property, drainage, of course, Valley Center, we're a little flat.
Valley.
And so that's something that we look at with intense detail and examination. This was before all of our time that are here. Besides Lloyd and Neil, and I don't think that this was their purview to explore. And so, unfortunately, I can't speak of the past, but moving forward, that's why we discuss, the drainage to a great extent of making sure the plan for not just today, but for the future, when it comes to, silting in and those types of things in the rolling ditches, or whether it be the drainage easements being in the front, the back, the side, and making sure that, our community development department now, with our inspectors and the way that we process permits, they do a fantastic job at making sure, working with Public Works, making sure people set those houses and fences and everything correctly on those properties as well.
Right.
I thought Mr. Stan was going to speak.
No.
You're not? Oh, okay. Dale set you up. All right. Well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to agree with Dale. This doesn't happen very often, but I'm like you. I have a problem telling someone where to put something in. You're talking about a 10-foot easement both ways. That's 20 feet. I think about the size of some of our equipment, and yes, you're going to need to turn around, things like that. But man, 20 feet's a lot of space to do things with. Also, I'm like Dale with the fencing, because in the memo, your memo made it sound like the type of fencing was blocking some of the flow, the natural flow. I think with wrought iron's not a bad option to go with. We had that around Arrowhead Park and the pond, which is a retention pond. And we also have natural flow that happens between the property lines. We also have fences sitting right on the property lines. There are easements, but there's no access there for you guys to get your equipment in. And the owners know that. They know that their fence will come down, their sheds will move if they are sitting on that easement. So I understand the whole access piece, and I want your jobs to be simple, but I also know as a landowner, I want to be able to do that with my land, and it's a fence. It's not a structure. We're talking about a fence.
I don't know, without looking at the GIS map, do you know if there's storm?
There is. So my neighbor right next to me has a storm, a big, huge concrete storm opening there that they can access anytime. That's the only one I know of in the neighborhood.
Oh, but that one is open, or no, it's fenced in?
No, it's fenced in. Oh yeah, it's all fenced in. Yeah, yeah. But it's a large.
But it's adjacent to the park.
It is adjacent to the pond, to the retention pond. Yeah, the park's on the other side.
So the city-owned property.
This is actually in his private property.
Right. No, but the access would come from behind in the Arrowhead Park. And so when they were probably looking at those permits, and I'm just, hypothetically, they probably saw that they would have access in the back due to the park in Arrowhead. And
Yeah,
then they
but
would-
you'd have to go through multiple yards.
Right,
'cause
and they
he's
would
on-
access
yeah,
that fence.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Or it just snuck by him.
Yeah.
One snuck by me when I was stepping in for Ryan. We actually, the city paid for a fence to be removed on the north side of this easement because I had allowed it to be put in. And so, we spent $1,200 moving a fence by a pool. And so that's how critical this is in this area to keep.
And so talk to me a little bit about how often this access needs to be made. Granted, I know you can't give me everything about what's going to flow into this, but what would cause this to be plugged where you would have to access those points to clean that out?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Public Works Director Eggleston, but so during every rain event, we're actually supposed to check, according to our MS4 discharge permit, storm inlets.
Okay. And are these a grate? Is this an open grate that's just sitting on top of a concrete manhole and then runs into some tube that then runs to the retention pond?
Okay. And so technically, if you ask the proper answer, now, does it happen every time? Maintenance doesn't necessarily happen every time it rains, but according to our discharge permit, they're supposed to be checked during every rain event.
Matt?
I can tell you my many years of public service, I've seen people dump grass clippings down the storm inlets. If they're inside their backyard, you're hidden and you can just dump stuff. If it's out in the open, that's probably not going to happen as much. There was a permit for this approved whenever it was done?
So this was done prior to me being here, but to my knowledge, the fence was put up prior to a permit being issued. And when they were told they needed a permit, that's when they were told they had to move the fence back to get the permit. But Brent could probably talk more on that.
Well, I know if I was down the road from this and water was backing up into my yard, possibly my house, because of this fence, I'd be a little disturbed.
Yep. And so a citation was issued. I believe the property owner did plead guilty in the court and paid the fine and court fees. And then I believe it was a misdemeanor or some degree of that. And so then the applicant came back, requested the fence permit, a new one, and then installed it in the correct manner with the drainage easement complied with 10 foot off the property line.
Does someone go out and inspect the fence after the person's put it up?
Yes, we do now.
Did they do it then, or do you just do it now?
We were just in the process of switching that. So I think there's a miscommunication of expectations and what was happening.
If I may, to expound a little bit on what Mr. Stam said, the situation where you have these surface inlets in between homes, like we have here, yes, my staff goes out and checks them. However, during a rain event, just as he said, say they're having trouble or he's having trouble or whatever, if we have that opening open in between these fences, he can actually go down there, look at that inlet. If it's covered up, he can remove debris off the top of it as well as us in the middle of the night. If it's fenced in inside somebody's fence, he can't get at it, which is a shared inlet throughout the whole community. So I wanted to add that point. And later this evening, I'll be talking about a pump and pumps. And we know we get high water and all manner of things can get run down through these high water. And so sometimes they can get very, very plugged. Sometimes we can get quite a little bit of water. Now, granted, yes, wrought iron can let water go through. In the instance where there's a surface inlet, so say you have a house on one side of surface inlet, a house on the other side of surface inlet, and those individuals both decide to put a solid fence up that doesn't let water through. Okay, at that point, that water gets backed up into their own yard. It affects just them.
Oh, I disagree. It affects more than just that.
Okay, but
I see your point, though.
But when they fence in the whole inlet, Now, none of the water from the whole neighborhood can get to that inlet.
I don't want to cut in line. You go ahead.
Yeah, this, I've been kind of with this issue for quite a long time. It's a balancing act because you do have property rights, and then you also have to balance that with, the quality of life of the neighbors around you. I know in my first house, I had 3 feet of water up to my knees in my backyard because of a house 2 down from me refused to mow their lawn and had appliances and things back there. So blocking flow does impact neighbors up, the flow, and I can attest to that. I would have to pump water, 3 feet of water, and it would be within 5 to 10 feet of my back of my house. I don't know that this situation is identical. It's not. One question I had is why couldn't they put a wrought iron fence with a very wide gate? Like, how wide would it have to be? That way it could still be accessed. Is that something that would be possible down the road?
I mean, if every property owner did that on both sides with a 10-foot gate, I mean, there would still be, posts down
right
in the property line. It's a very similar situation. We spent a large amount of money because of all the fences and sheds and everything that was in the drainage and over the sanitary sewer. If you recall, over on Allen Street, in between Clay and Allen, there right to the west of Dexter, and we had to spend a large amount of money to reline that sewer because we didn't have access, and there was literally sheds over manholes. And so the reason why I bring that up is each situation is different and unique in itself, and that's why each one has its own permit. At the same time that this one was happening, we actually had a request from over on Scott Street, and they wanted to put a fence because their property line went north across a drainage easement. It was a ditch in the backyards, but their property line went across the ditch, and they wanted to close an actual box culvert, like a whole end of a box culvert. And they want to put it right on the property line. The property line was only 3 foot, 4 foot from the back of curb because the street wasn't laid centered in the right of way. And so, if we start allowing some, you don't understand that, some of the unintended consequences of other areas, and then us trying to say, well, you can't do that because that's our infrastructure, and we have to maintain that inlet, especially in a box culvert that goes under a road that drains, half a neighborhood. But technically, they did own on the other side of that ditch. Rodney, you remember that one? Yep. And they want to actually put a pool in that backyard right up to the ditch. It was wild situation. But, so each situation is different, just like this one is different. This one has infrastructure that is city owned, city maintained, our responsibility. And we do have to have access to that.
The homeowner is here. I don't know whenever we're done, can he come up and ask questions, follow-up questions, or any other thoughts he may have? Okay.
Mayor, I had a follow-up real quick. So on these drainage openings, are they not down the exact center of the property line? Are they off to one side a little bit?
Without getting a survey, which we do not, survey every permit application, we're not sure where it's at. It's within that 20-foot.
I'm just trying to find some equal ground there. If they're close to the center line where we're not having to fully pull the full 10 and still have access. That's what I'm looking at. Is trying to find some.
I think we did accommodate a little bit. It's not quite 10. It's a little bit less. 9.
Wow, that was a real accommodation, 6 inches. Wow.
6 inches.
I feel for you. That's not accommodations.
Yes.
Matt?
I've just got one thing. I view it as a city utility. They have to have access to it. What if that was a fire hydrant blocked in? So people want access to it. To me, it's the same thing. It's a public utility that they need access to.
You can address the council. Just name and address, please.
Good afternoon, Jeremy Johnson, 748 North Wakefield. Thanks for letting me come visit again. Like you said, I have been dealing with this for a while. As Brent mentioned, the original permit was applied for May 23rd of 2023. Spoke with the past council, past mayor. Past mayor showed up at my house, actually looked at the situation. We made some recommendations to Brent, the old community developer. I asked him at the time, instead of me coming in all the way off of my property line, I will cut my fence 6 to 8 inches off the ground, because by the Corps of Engineers, wood does not stop the flow of water. The natural flow of water will find its way into this home, which if you come to my house today, you will see that the ground has washed away underneath the fence. It states in the ordinance that you cannot modify the easement in no way. That's sod, sprinklers, anything. Council Wilson stated that a fence is not a structure. There's no engineering design in a fence, it's a freestanding fixture. We've been fighting this issue forever. I was informed on June by Mayor Tooman that notice was sent out to the homeowners and HOA that these fences are going to be moved. Since the day this has started, it has been 3 fences. I have now taken over the HOA and I've zoned those, zone 1 through 6. We have 2 zones in a neighborhood that looks alike. The rest of them are different. I'm a taxpayer. I support the city. To me, that's a disservice. To answer your question, if it's on the center line, I, the homeowner, I have to eat that whole 10 foot. It is not in the middle of that center line 20. The easement that we're referencing, if that's the case, if we're gonna go to service inlets, your ordinance needs to read that the homeowner cannot go to the property line based off of the service inlet, not center line 20. Because the rest of the homes have the same center line 20. They're getting to utilize the entire property. We pay taxes on that. Rainstorms, I have a camera because of this issue that I put in my backyard that records 24 hours a day. I can show you the flow of water. I can show you how many city employees have been there to check that inlet. 2 years ago, when Brent or whoever called the homeowner in Wakefield to get this fence to start being moved because of water backed up, the HOA found the problem. The problem was the block inlet into the drainage pond that the HOA paid to get that blockage cleared in the drainage. That's why the water backed up in that easement. So to me, we need to look at this as a city and give us back that property and be smart about it, because public safety, we having small crimes. We leave this 20-foot bowling alley, school gets out, kids just being mean. They jump the back of that fence. We're at work. They break into the house. Our neighbors can't see it. We come home and I catch a kid in the house. Now we got a bigger issue. Or raccoons, skunks. We got a lot of problems. If you can butt those property lines up or give it a foot, when I first built my fence, I had a 10-foot gate, wrought iron cedar fence gate, metal frame. All they had to do is open it and drive through there. Right now, you can't get nothing through there because you have cable boxes, you have the new fiber optic boxes, you have all that stuff in that easement. So my thing is, if we're going to say we're going to do this, it has to be uniform across the whole city. It can't be, oh, it's an inlet here. If that's the case, take all your storm inlets and put them in the roadway and let them drain underneath the infrastructure. We do it already in the island. So everything that comes off of Wakefield and Redbud, it flows underneath Wakefield and dumps into the pond. Is where it's going right now. Because right now we're taking the brunt of this at 10 foot. It's all the way inside my property line. Before I moved there, the fences was everywhere. The guy I bought my house from, he said I was going to put up a fence. So the lady behind me, since 2019, she had a pool. She put her fence up. I came in, I filled out this permit. At the time, this permit had nothing in here about a fence and an easement. Go into the fence permit today and look at the bottom of it, and it will state that you must not put a fence in the easement. Didn't state that on this one. So my question is, what are we hiding behind? Because we have 42 homes. I own my own business. I drive a lot. I have a Google map that I will keep myself, that I know where the homes that's in the easement in Valley Center. I've done that homework myself. I have been drugged through this for too long. I have talked to Clint. I've talked to the mayor. I've talked to the past mayor. I've spent a lot of time on this, not just to be a pain in your guys' butt, but this is, we got bigger things that we can be doing. If the water backs up, I promise you, it's not going to be because of a wooden fence. It's going to be because there's something blocked at the outside, not at the inlet. It's too big. And then the Stormwater Act is supposed to be tested. Where's it been tested if nobody's coming there? I asked for those documents. I mean, that's how frustrated it's gotten to me, and it's personal to me because it's being taken away from us to say that it's going to be maintained, and nothing's being maintained.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion with the council? Any other questions? Any comments? Guess we will move on. Any directions to the staff?
I don't have any direction unless the staff has any thoughts, final thoughts.
And so, if you do drive over there today, you'll see in the island in between Wakefield and Redbud, where that green line is. That's sanitary sewer. But then in the middle of that, that's where the other surface inlet is. One of the other ones that Kyle had mentioned earlier. At least since I've been here, July 2019, yes, this area has been a mess. This was in the city's land bank. Before that, it was Mennonite. Before that, it was a private developer who went, financially in a different direction. And so the storm drainage system, yes, is unique with storm inlets in this area. Now, if we could move it all to the street, we'd definitely try to do that now. That's why you see, all the storm inlets in our new subdivisions, and usually the drainage is handled a different way. But there are not fences in that island that are inside of that drainage easement for the sheer fact of having that water drain to that inlet and then sent out. No different on the north side and the south side in the same subdivision. So just want to make sure that you guys do know that, throughout the course of the development with the contractors, the city has paid to move some of those fences over the course since 2019 because it was our issues. Sometimes when you come up with permits and, you have forms and you have 18 pages and you try to whittle it down to 2 pages for application permit form, sometimes you don't include everything on that. When those issues get brought up, like this one was, that it wasn't on the permit form, then we add it. There's absolutely, we should respond when the citizens ask us to make a positive change, to processes that the city does do. I mean, we're not saying we do everything perfectly. I mean, we're also human and we make mistakes. And so that brought up a great point of then adding that to that fence permit form so then people knew, because not everybody reads the full ordinance when they're applying for a permit. And so, yeah, we did add it after the fact because it brought up a great suggestion. And so did just want to lay that foundation for this neighborhood as well, and to answer any questions that you might still have.
Yeah.
I get that this is a unique neighborhood. What I would like to have is a policy for future developments that we don't run into this issue. Not in our brains, but written down that we follow this something that this doesn't happen again in the future when none of us are on this council, or you're not our city administrator.
Well, and so the reason why they do it in drainage utility easements and not right of ways is so then the city's not mowing a lot of these easements and right of ways and those things. And so as far as, the drainage and utility easements in the back of properties, I mean, that does still happen. Now, as far as surface inlets, I'm not sure we can come up with a separate policy. I can check to see if other cities have done that, to see if there's, a surface inlet policy that none will be put into the drainage and utility easements in the back of properties. I don't know, Councilman Stam, if you've been in Kansas a lot longer than I have. But I can definitely check and see what we can do.
That's all I got. I know our drainage policies have changed drastically since the Windmill Valley development. I lived there for several years, and I believe we didn't have one, and we still don't have one. In fact, one of my old neighbors asked me if they could get a sump pump and pump the water out into the street at the end of the cul-de-sac. What are you gonna do? But you didn't hear from me, but because I know that's, it's an area. They've changed a lot. It's gotten a whole lot better, and it gets better. And I talked to the resident about this before I was the mayor. I talked to him after I was the mayor. He has an issue, but we have our policies too. He took us to court and lost. And I told him the only other alternative he had was to come to the council. He came to the council once, and now he's come to the council tonight. That's been, I've been the mayor 11 months now. So.
And Mayor, he didn't take us to court, and so that was a citation, and he
took
appeared.
The citation to court.
Yes, because
okay. Anyway, he
gave him a citation.
He lost that citation. So, I don't know what he wants us to do. I think we've got a handle on things, and like you said, that's a unique area. It needs to have some special attention, and we're getting a handle on the rest of our new additions, and they're always going to come up because you're going to have people putting dirt or sand or grass clippings in their ditches. I see them getting blowed in the sewer gutters, and it's just people just don't understand how important it is in Valley Center that we need to get rid of the water. That's why we build all these retention ponds. So that's all the comments I've got. I just know that we're doing a lot better than we did 30 years ago. And, taking more into consideration. So I don't know what the council wants to do. Just let it go.
Yeah, I don't have any specific direction. I think you brought up a good point about case-by-case basis. I don't know that we need to change the policy, but I think that there could be situations where we can do the wrought iron fence with a big gate, but just case-by-case basis.
The problem with big gates, if you fence your property in, that's your property. I can't go in it. He can't go in it. She can't go in it. Police officers can't go in it unless they're invited. So if you fence it in, it don't matter if you got a 30-foot gate. It's off limits unless you let them in. And if it's an emergency, they can't get in. People climb the fence and rob your place. That's not our problem. We can't get in to solve that problem unless we're chasing them.
And I can honestly say, I know the argument's always, well, you have access. You can always, knock down the fence if you have to and bulldoze. In my 15 years in this, my fourth city, I have never once been able to do that when we should have, especially with power poles, because there's no way that the mayor and council is going to take that political backlash of driving a front end loader or a grader through those structures. I mean, I haven't even heard of it in all my entire career of a city actually doing that. Can they? Yes, they never do. They'll go and they'll try to work with the homeowner, say, hey, can you move your fence down? If you know how to remove it yourself, and set it aside. And so, I do want to make sure to make that just professional comment. Matt, you might have seen, Derby might do it different, but, I have never seen that in anywhere I've been.
I've seen it in Salina one time. The homeowners were not home, and it was a major emergency. Sewer was backing up, and they just plowed it over. But the city paid to put it back, which they didn't have to because they're taking the risk by putting it in the easement. If it needs out, then the property owner technically don't have to pay for it. because they put it in the easement and they know the risk of doing that.
And when you purchase your property, when you buy it, when you're sitting there at the closing place or at the bank or lawyer's office, you see the easements, you see what infrastructure is there, you sign off that you accept that.
So I guess, I don't know what, hearing everything I've heard tonight, I mean, it's pretty clear the ordinance is there for a reason. So I guess I don't understand what you want us to do differently.
I understand your ordinance. And what I'm saying is, if you can't utilize that property line, it should be clear across the board everywhere. I could take every last one of you guys in my pickup and take you out there to HOA now. And you will see 10 homes that's correct. And you'll see a lot more than that that's not.
Do they have inlets in their backyard?
The ordinance doesn't state inlets.
Do they have inlets in
Some
their
of them
backyard?
do.
Some of them have the inlets
The rod aren't in it.
that are fenced in.
Fenced in.
Okay.
And some of them back all the way up into the drainage easement.
Are you aware of this? No.
Take a look. Just come out and take a look. If they let you in their backyard, that's when you find out. The only way this got brought up into some problem today is because I applied for the permit. I was out of the state and it wasn't approved. If I was in the state when it got turned, this would have never been this far. But so happened, the fence company showed up and I was back at my second home in Colorado. He built the fence, and when I got back, that's when Esteban showed up. So before then, for 2018 until 2023, the fences was the same way. Nobody ever said anything.
Dale?
So this is for discussion only. I suggest we table this for right now. Yeah, my thought.
I'll second.
That was not a motion.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to just table
I
that.
did not make a motion.
Oh, sorry.
I just give you my opinion.
Anything else?
I tried to.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll just move on. Move on to item D, resolution 770-24. Stormwater management fees. Is that you, Rodney?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This should be pretty brief. I have in front of you the rates that we have currently. You can see the different square footage of $8, $22, $44, $88. These are the exact same rates that we have had for stormwater utility for 24, 23, and 2022. The last time these rates changed were in 2021, and they were actually higher than what you see here by about 2 to 3%. So the reserve funds in this account are stable. We have no major expenses that we see right now. It is our recommendation to keep the rates as they have been since 2022 for the next 4 years going forward. Since this is a resolution, if something were to change, if a large expense were to come up, we could obviously reopen this and address it at that time and possibly need to adjust those rates. But it's our recommendation at this point in time to keep the rates as they are right now since 2022. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Dale?
Why is this a resolution that expires every 4 years? Okay. That's okay. You had kind of answered my one question I already had, and that was the second one.
Just to want to do a point of reference here. And so, yes, we do have a healthy fund balance and they're currently, we're going to deplete all of that with an item that was added to your agenda. But we feel confident of keeping the same rates to help build that back up. You know, that you're aware that the pumps on the future will be coming out of the stormwater fund. In addition to, we'll replenish that over the course of next year. If you recall, we did reduce this amount to help, with just overall increase in fees and just property taxes, fees as a whole, holistic approach to looking at the entire, cost of living here in Valley Center. And so that's why we've been able to maintain this. What we've really been doing is we wait till the fund balance is to a point to either help and assist with a large stormwater project or put towards and pay down that principal payment or principal amount that we issue in debt towards a project. And so, we did transfer a large portion of the stormwater fees that helped then pay for parts of Meridian Avenue. Our contribution for that KDOT or the WAMPO funds that we received. And so if you recall also too, by the school district office, that storm water section that we included on Park Street to Meridian was out of this fund as well. And so we feel confident that still maintaining the same amount that we have been with the $8 and then so on and so forth with the impervious surfaces, that we'll continue to wait for projects to come about. Another one that's coming out of this fund that will also really deplete it this year is the Goff Street project. So that drainage project is yet to be out of this fund as well. So just want to let you know that these funds do go towards large purchases, good projects that benefit the community as a whole.
Any other questions or discussion? Matt?
I will throw in that every town does this. This isn't unique to us. Every town does it. So it's standard across the board stuff.
Fiery or what? What specific are you referring to?
That's stormwater.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the resolution 770-24 regarding stormwater management fees and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution 770-24. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item E, approval of the RFP for 2025 roadway upgrades.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. So normally we would be coming before you with this RFP after the first of the year in budget. We were looking at redoing South Seneca. It says from 69th to 61st, the actual square yards. The actual section will be from 69th to just north of the railroad track, is what the measurements have. And this will be much like what we did with the cul-de-sacs out west. Pull the whole surface up, put a new base down, lay down new asphalt. After the last Meridian's project status meeting, we were discussing that the upcoming closure of 69th and Meridian for several months. With that, there's a very good chance that the traffic on South Seneca is going to increase quite a bit with that detour. And so we thought it might be a good strategy to move this up in the schedule. So basically we will pay for this out of reserve funds this year, replenish those funds next year's budget, and get this done ahead of time so we can try to handle some of that increased traffic on South Seneca.
Gina?
So will there be other roadway projects next year?
This
Or-
will pretty much take the entire budget to do that. This road has, I know ever since I've been here, and I would refer to Neil and or Lloyd, that this road has been a problem for a long, long time. It has very poor base under it. You'll patch it, fix holes. And it's much like those other roads we did.
We're
The proper
talking,
way to do it is put a new base on it.
you're talking Seneca south of 69th Street?
Yes, sir. This would be from 69th south to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Now, we do plan to put in, ask for an optional bid for roller compacted concrete as well.
Well, I agree that the road is bad and needs to be done, but we have some other things that need to be done too.
Understood. Yes, I understand.
Good evening again. And so unfortunately, the last 5.5 years I've been here, we have applied just on a regular basis for funds for this stretch of road. We have failed every step of the way with not receiving, any assistance for this section of roadway. This is one of those roads that was, during the annexation wars that just somehow landed in our lap. And so, in order to if we were even to do a mill and overlay on this, that will fail almost immediately and it'll be throwing money away. This is, we have asked the county for assistance as well. They're trying to look in their budget. They're already, far over their road budget for this year and next year. And also too, they reminded me that they have, put, maybe, 3 or 4 million in Valley Center here the last couple of years. So it's kind of hard, to justify that to their commissioners because a section of this, it is adjacent to the county. It is entirely Valley Center right of way. This is one of those roads that, it's not an arterial. It's not a major corridor. It's not, it just is one of those residential roads that we feel during the roundabout shutdown on 69th and Meridian is going to get used a lot more. We did have this in the plan for this coming year anyways. We know that we might only have a little bit of funds to maybe potentially do, some sealant, sealer on the roads that we've done in the past, but no other major mill and overlays. This is going to be, constantly evolving and rolling, mill and overlay program that we started versus doing the slurry seal approach that we were in the past. So this is unfortunately one of those that even I can't find money for.
Matt?
I don't mind doing the RFPs for like mill and overlay and stuff like that, but this is almost building a whole new road. And having no plans, no direction for the contractor. Does it drain to the east, to the west, to the center line? Which way does it go? And utility conflicts with digging down on the base, or you can have to put geogrid underneath the base or just a rock base?
We're going to put crushed concrete to follow our standards.
But you're
roadway base.
But you're not going to put geogrid underneath it?
There's geogrid in our spec.
Yeah, it's in our specs.
Oh, so there's some specs different than what's in here.
Yes,
This here is just-
yeah, and so it has to comply with our city standards. And if you recall, 2020, 2021, give or take, we adopted new codes and new city standards when it came with the assistance of PEC for roadway projects. And so those are what has to be followed during this project. And also too, we've requested, we just haven't received back yet, an estimate from PEC on reviewing and then also potentially testing maybe a few times. We don't need them out there 24/7, testing the concrete, with their fingers. But, just on somewhat of a few inspection basis to do a few breaks for strength and density and all those things.
Is the contractor going to be told how to do traffic control? Because it's going to be one way, do one half and the other half?
We'll work through that as city staff.
Yeah.
So that's a long stretch with no one to park. That's a long way for some of those people to walk from 69th to 61st.
Yes, and to respond to your first question, Mr. Stem, I didn't get into that, but in the RFP, it does state 6 inches of crushed concrete base and then 6 inches of asphalt in 2 lifts. So we want to do a 4-inch lift and then a 2-inch lift. And so that will get away from this business once you're.
That's what I'm worried about is
Yes.
just a lot of money and I want it done right. I want.
It's laid out in
going
2
to hell
different lifts. And we are following, we have our city standards, and our city standards are, it's minimum of 5 inches of asphalt. With the increased traffic, we are asking for 6 inches. And then if we do roller compacted concrete, our standards say 5 inches.
I'd prefer roller compacted concrete.
Robert?
Yeah, that's why we're going to get the estimate.
Yeah.
But one quick thing too on the inspection side, we're going to see if the county, since they've been here for the last 4 years, to see if the county could also assist and break off the Meridian project and maybe help us out a little bit. They have the expertise, in-house, and that would be maybe, an in-kind contribution. Is just if I, get a quote from PC and then I actually have some substance and a dollar amount to then, bring back to you as far as the in-kind contribution from the county if it's inspection services.
Robert?
So what's the timetable of getting this completed? Because the roundabout's coming up. are we going to be able to tuck this in and get it done before that closure happens?
We did ask the PEC engineer on the Meridians project, and they do. It's not uncommon to lay asphalt during this time of year. So yeah, we don't see an issue with getting it bedded out. I put a pretty aggressive timeline on the approval inside it in this RFP. So we're looking at trying to get back to you with bids in the first or second meeting in December, or second meeting in December. So I put a pretty aggressive timeline on this because we want to get this. We want to get this done if possible before the closure of the 69th Meridian. That's the whole reason for moving it up, obviously.
My other piece to this would be some direction to Mr. Miller with all this savings you're finding for the city. Is there any way that can be directed back towards trying to possibly refund a little bit of our roadway budget for 2025 so that we can try to do something? Just a suggestion.
Yeah, these projects, this is a big one. And, you know, with our budget that we have, obviously this has been a stretch road we've been needing to work on for years and years and years. And it's obviously been put off because of what the cost of it's going to be. And as staff, and we've discussed it, we've decided that, again, it's that kicking the can down the road type thing. Well, and with this closure coming up, this really needs to be done.
Well, I'm like Councilmember Gregory. It seems like we're kicking the can down the road every single year with your road projects. And the city, I know the citizens are getting tired of it. We got other projects right here in the city that need to be taken care of with street issues that I get to hear about all the time. So we've got poor streets in other areas that within the city here. And granted, I know that's an artery out there. I know it's vital. It's vital as well. I understand, but every street's vital. So I just know the concentration of our citizens is here in the city, not on that stretch of road.
Ron?
Yeah, I got two questions. First of all, has anybody done a vehicle count for 69 and 61st Street?
Yes.
I don't know. That's the second question. The other thing I would like to bring up is, have we approached WAMPO at all to consider that a road of necessity to help with the financing? To what degree?
I've submitted this 5 times to WAMPO, denied every time by the project selection committee.
I remember 3 or 4.
I think you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
The Dog and Pony Show.
But we should be, because they are getting something. I think it was, last count was close to $17 billion on road surface repair for the next 20 years.
Yep. And we have 5 projects in that
I've seen those projects.
in those funds. This one wasn't even eligible in those guidelines.
Okay, the final question then. Why is this so important to get this done now instead of waiting? I hate to say it, another couple of years.
And with council direct, we absolutely can. It's just we feel as staff that we're going to get a lot of phone calls, and you probably will too, if we actually force people to drive on this road and people see the quality of it. There are times when I owned my Chrysler minivan that when it rained and I drove on that, I mean, it was extremely dangerous for me to drive on it if it rained at all with those puddles and the unevenness of that roadway. Now, I'm not saying that we absolutely have to, but this is a project that we have had on the slate for then 2025. The council, in the past has continued to move this project, along that path of then funding for 2025, which we're not asking to change besides just the timing of it, but still use those funds that we do receive for the county that we put in the roadway for the project now versus 2025. Now, it's always up to you all as the council. And if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you do not have to pass this RFP. We're bringing this to your attention because during our last meeting with our progress update meeting for Meridian, that's when we've received, 9 inches of rain in the last, week. And so, we're seeing what that roadway is and the condition it is. Now, can folks still travel on interurban and then go on to 69th? Absolutely. I'm not saying that this is the only path north. I just know a lot of people go the path of least resistance, the shortest path. This is the shortest path if you're coming from Leakers or if you're coming from 69th Street, 61st Street. If you're coming from 61st Street heading north, or if you're going from 69th and Seneca south, you're not going to go to Broadway and down. You're going to go Seneca down and then cut through and then come out on 53rd. That's just human nature. But you absolutely can revisit the 2025 road maintenance plan. Come back to you with those sections of roadways like we did last year, which last year, I don't know if you received any phone calls, but people were just ecstatic. I mean, I had phone calls from people in those cul-de-sacs, especially off of Sheridan. Rosa, is that her name? A Vietnamese lady that lives on the south side there, that cul-de-sac off of Sheridan, that's called me, constantly for 5.5 years. She was so thankful that cul-de-sac got mill and overlay. She's at us first time since she's lived there in the 70s, 80s, that anybody has paid attention to that roadway. And so we do value that input and we do try to maintain our entire road network. There just isn't enough money. Now, we have discussed in the past, if you recall, and some of the council members are new, but we've discussed just taking a bond out for all the roads and doing all of the road mill and overlays in 1 year and pulling that $5-6 million CIP for a couple of years and doing that. And so if that's something that we want to consider, then let us know so we can start thinking about that for 2026 budget year, and we can absolutely explore those opportunities and options.
Yeah.
So we're mainly talking about this because of the pending closure of 69th and Meridian.
Yes.
Correct? What is the proposed detour route? Is it this route or is
Broadway?
Okay. So
Ford and Broadway and 53rd. So 53rd, Ford and Broadway.
Because everybody using Meridian is going to go to Walmart and they still have to go to 53rd to go west to Walmart regardless. I've been looking at my phone on a map because I'm like, I forgot this section was in the city limits, to be honest with you. Like I'm sure some of my fellow council members, but I, like Miss Gregory, I have a hard time with this one when we have stuff inside city limit, further city limits that needs more, like Ash between 5th and Main, for example, or Park, Ash, the snow route. That one. It's the one I'm thinking off the top of my head. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that proposed detour route is not actually Seneca. I know people are going to use it, but
Right, that's what we were about to
it's
say.
going to be
With every detour, you have people that are just going to go the way
right.
they want.
And no matter what we do, we're going to choose the wrong thing anyway, because some people are going to go probably west to Sheridan down to 61st Street. So I don't know if this is the right time. Although I was glad that Mr. Stam asked his questions about the specifics on the roadway.
Clint?
And now if we want to move this though, so then we need to reevaluate the 2025 road plan that we had already talked about during budget cycle. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're going to change the 2025 road maintenance plan altogether. So what's our plan?
Are there any roads in our city limits that are as bad or worse than that road?
Yes.
So then to me, then those should be the roads that we should have the attention to. There's roads inside of Valley Center, city limits that are worse than that road. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That's just my thoughts.
And not all those roads are through streets.
Okay, let's look at through streets compared to all other through street. I can't even say that. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Compared to the rest of the roads, is there any of those that are as bad or worse than that?
And we do have a road grading system that I think that you all have seen in the past, and that our street superintendent has gone out and given it a scoring criteria, and Rodney can speak more to that, that we can send to you as well for discussion.
So, yes, there are streets within, but to clarify, this isn't within the city.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if we look at our city,
Wanted to clarify
right, through streets, I'm not talking about, if there's other streets that are used fairly regularly that are in worse shape, in my mind, I'm just, what I mean?
Most of the, yes, there are. And there are other annexed areas that have poorly built streets that are chip sealed that haven't been getting attention, which is why we're trying to add those in whenever we can using the budget that we have.
I guess I'm comparing similar streets that would be used, would have the similar traffic on it. Does that make more sense? Not talking, but not like
And I would say, in my opinion, a 40-mile-an-hour street, I can't think of any others within Valley Center that would be in this bad shape. The others are residential streets, 30-mile-an-hour streets, low use. Yes, there aren't very many people that live on this street. However, it's a 40-mile-an-hour through street.
The only other one would be the other side of Seneca between, 93rd and 5th, just because of the caving out the shoulders and all that. But
Ben?
Can we approve this request for proposals and still not approve any of the proposals?
absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. I feel like we're
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to hold that part up, and we can still decide we don't want to do it.
See what the numbers are.
Maybe.
Robert?
Chief, since you have yourself and one of your officers here, is that street in bad shape? Is it a safety issue? Let's go that route. Is it a safety issue at 40 mile an hour? Is it a safety issue?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I would say.
That's all I need, Chief. I don't want to delay this any longer. I've already.
I actually, probably a year and a half ago, I was coming home at night in my car up that road and I hit the pothole. There was nowhere to swerve, miss it, unless you went in the ditch, and I had to spend a few $100s on front end parts for my car. I couldn't see it. I wasn't even doing 40. And I also want to say that those people out there pay taxes too. It sounds like it's like they're out in the boonies, well, because of all the annexation stuff. They do pay taxes too, and they have never had a new road. Other people in town has had a new road once when it was first built.
Motion to approve RFP for 2025 roadway upgrades and authorize staff to collect proposals and present selected bidder at future city council meeting.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve RFP for the 2025 roadway upgrades. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
That means my road's not getting done, right? I said that means my road's not getting done, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a good thing I didn't get the vote. Oh. Okay, moving on to personnel policy revisions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In January 1st of 2023, so almost 2 years ago, you approved a personnel policy. It's recommended that you, city staff, review that. So now it's been 2 years. So the personnel policy was reviewed by all the department heads. I have highlighted the changes. I did not put the full policy in, just what we are changing. Almost all of it is minor changes, wordings. We no longer have an assistant city administrator, so we needed to take out that kind of language. So I hope that you did have time to kind of go through and see. The main thing that we did add is an AI policy, the artificial intelligence, that is becoming more and more and more common. And so we wanted to put a policy in place on that. So if anyone has any questions as you're going through, another big change are the hours of Public Works, the whole Public Works building. The hours had not been changed in the policy to reflect the changes that City Hall and Public Works had. So we're wanting to get that uniformity within the policy so that when we leave at City Hall, there's not going to be anyone to call. So we're changing the hours to be much more uniform. Public safety and fire, of course, will continue to have staff, but the Phyllis will not be there to take those calls. She isn't now. So we're just trying to get it lined out.
And those hours, you know, if you recall, when we proposed it last time, you know, we allowed kind of every department and every building to kind of come up with their own. And now I think after seeing the benefits of, you know, being closed at noon, we were approached as city admin staff to then look and review those hours, those building hours. And so this is coming at the recommendation of those department directors in that building.
Dale?
I have two things. Could you go to page 60? Oh, you're right there. This at the top looks like you cut off something.
And I can send out, it possibly did.
Because if you go up to page 62, there's no section heading or anything.
Okay, and that's my fault as I was trying to put the whole thing in and then pull out pages that I didn't have.
Okay.
That
well,
would have been mine, and it's not in there. You are correct, Dale.
Okay.
I apologize.
I could have missed it too.
No, it
Anything's
is
possible.
not. It's going to make a jump.
Next question is for probably Mr. Clark. Could you go to page 66? I know we approved restructuring of the police structure. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It says police captain. I thought you were going to do a police lieutenant.
And so what we did, and so when we were discussing it during our budget time, and the chief or public safety director Newman had the memo presented in that with the language, then this is the reflection of what his recommendations were. But I'll let him speak to the lieutenant captain.
Captain was my request. If I recall during the budget time, I think you were the only one that mentioned lieutenant or asked why not a lieutenant. I thought I'd explain that then, but I could
It's a couple months
talk
ago.
about it again.
Well, and I thought there was something about classification, but I could be thinking of the fire side too.
That's adding a full-time fire lieutenant.
Okay, that might be where I thought of. I might have gotten mixed up.
And that is to help split some of the on-call duties on the fire side, as well as whenever a truck leaves the station, it has to have an officer.
Okay.
And so that'll alleviate some of the time that either Chief Tormey or Captain Banning have.
Okay. I think I got the two sides confused. Sorry. That's all I had.
And I will just tag on because I see the timesheets. The fire staff, it is hard for them to get time away, even with the 3 people, because they have to have those officers on the truck. So you can't just say, oh, firefighter, you're going to fill in for Chief Tormey. They just can't. They have to have that title and that training. So this will go into effect if you approve it on the next pay period that begins next Saturday. So it's going to start right away, but if you approve it.
And we mean go into effect. So parts of this will go into effect as far as the building hours and those things. As far as the flow chart and those potential promotions and shifting of job classifications, that will not take place until January 1st, the first full pay period, January 1st. as that's how we have it budgeted currently. And so just to make sure you understand that it's not impacting the flow chart right away, which it doesn't need to, but we don't want to come back with you with just flow chart and then just piece it out. So we figured we do it all at once. And then this gives us the flexibility and allows us to then add those, since we're not removing any titles within those flow charts.
Any other questions? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve proposed revisions to the current 2023 personnel policy effective November 23rd, 2024. I think that's what it said.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the personnel policy revisions. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to October 2024 financial report review.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to keep this very short. Like I said a couple months ago, 6 times a year, I think is the number we're going to use. I'm going to pull out these financials out of the consent agenda and just briefly go through them with you. Everything you're going to see tonight is as of the end of October. So that's 10 months through the year out of 12. You should be seeing approximately 83.3% of either revenue coming in or expenses having spent at that point in time, and kind of give you a point of reference on where we're at. So I'm going to kind of go through these quickly, and if you don't mind, I'm actually going to try to talk about it. That's number, all of them. Again, I want to keep this kind of high level because some of these.
It's removable.
Some of these have, especially the revenue lines on like utilities and stuff can have almost 10,000 transactions into one individual line. So if you're going to ask me a very detailed question, I may or may not be able to answer it. But the most important of it all is the overall revenue numbers. Through the end of October, we are already at 97.1%. And I'm just going to kind of do some happy faces and smile because everybody understands what those are. So from a revenue standpoint, we're doing fantastic with 2 months to go left in the year. I'm going to quickly go through some of the different departments. Administration is the only one that right now is trending a little bit higher. I kind of wrote off to the side on what some of those are. Most of them are contractuals. PEC billing is over. Our software maintenance expenses. We had telephone upgrades. And we had a very, very large increase in insurance expenses over what we had budgeted for 2024. Going on to some of the others, I may actually need you to have the mouse because I can't see some of these individual departments that I'm on there, if you don't mind. Which one? Okay. So community development, that's the only other one right now that we're trending a little bit high on expenses. We're at 91.54 with 2 months left to go. Jump forward. It's sensitive. Police is well under budget at this point in time. Fire is just a slight amount over. We already covered Kyle's, we covered police, we covered fire. Parks and Recreation, I really should have put a smile face too. They're almost dead on that number that they should be at. And total expenses, this is where it kind of all rolls into one. We're right on track where we need to be. So again, from a top line standpoint, we're ahead on revenue. We're on budget with expenses from all departments rolled into one, which is fantastic. Some other real quick ones. Already covered that one. That's just kind of breaking out what some of those different expenses are. Library is on budget. I really didn't see anything right now that is a huge concern of mine. We have some individual line items, of course, that are over, but again, this is a top level situation and we're doing fantastic. Special highway looks good. From both a revenue and expense standpoint. I can't tell what this one is. I apologize. It's cutting off too much for me, but Again, I know that we're kind of running along tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but I don't see anything besides essentially administration, just to a small extent, and Kyle's that are over. And at the end of the day, we're rolling up in a very good position from both a revenue and total expense standpoint. So I'll be happy. Any questions you have? Again, I want to keep this real short because I know we're kind of running long tonight.
Any questions?
Does this need a motion?
Need a motion? No. We need a motion?
Yeah. Motion to accept and file October 2024 revenue and expense financial report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the October 2024 financial report. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item H. Ford flood control pump repair.
Okay, so we briefly touched on this a little earlier. So back in the weekend of November 2nd, when we got all that high rain, 5 inches of rain, Ron Ekstrom and Matt Nicholson, our duty man, was in here scrambling around, taking care of different outages and things like that. And they went to check the Ford flood control, and Matt said only one pump was running and the other two were airing out. So they went and checked things out. We called in our electrical engineer. He ohmed out the pumps, said that the two large pumps, they showed as a dead short, so they weren't running. So they just said, there's 3 pumps in this flood control. There's one that runs at a 1,000 gallon per minute. Pumps at 1,000 gallon per minute. That's your small pump. That's basically your utility pump that runs most of the time. There's 2 more pumps in there that each run at 5,000 gallons per minute. Those 2 pumps were the ones that were aired out. The next day, pulled those pumps out of the flood control, and as I stated in here, one had 2 baseballs lodged in the impeller, and the other one had 1 baseball. I called, so we called MEM because they are a chosen vendor that works on these flight pumps, and they checked them out. I called that vendor. I asked, well, what could have caused these? And he said, well, there's several different things that could cause these pumps to overamp. And we don't know for sure whether we could have had lightning, but he said certainly if something got lodged in that impeller to stop those pumps when they were hitting hard, they very well could have overamped and caused a short. So what you have here to explain these quotes, because it is kind of confusing, because even when I got it, the total about made me fall out of my chair. The 116,000 is not the total we're looking at here. Okay, we have a replacement cost of these pumps that would be the almost $80,000, and then to repair these pumps, we have the $37,024.52. That's for each pump to repair these pumps. Now, we have a four-week lead time on the parts to repair these pumps. If we were to buy new pumps, that's 20 weeks. We would be looking at March before we'd have brand new pumps. These pumps are under 10 years old. These are very large flight pumps. They're about this tall. Under normal circumstances, there's no reason why these pumps couldn't be operating in those flood controls for 20 years. Okay. It's just we ran into an unusual situation. They got lodged. They burned up, shorted out. And this is where we're at to repair these pumps. I did in the letter, I did make a mistake. My apologies. I have the cost of fixing these coming out of the system improvement line within the sewer budget. That is incorrect. It will be coming out of stormwater, as this is a stormwater facility. And then we will return that back later. Question?
Ben? Is there something we can do to mitigate debris that would cause this in the future, whether it be baseballs or I mean, I understand we
There is
probably have something in
grading. I'm
place.
sorry.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
There is grading on the front of that flood control, and there's squares. Now, obviously, a baseball, unfortunately, will go through one of those squares. So the squares are large enough, maybe not a softball, but a baseball. So this was a very unique situation. Normally, and I will tell you, normally, and I've been down there when there's water, that baseball probably would have been stopped, because what happens is debris and sticks and vegetation build up against that grading, and then the baseballs would have. But with the high water, we got like 5 inches of rain in under 24 hours. We had a lot of water in there, and luckily, that's our large detention area that holds a great deal of water. So luckily, running on that small pump, we were okay for a while, because it held that water back, actually did what it was designed to do, and became a water quality feature, and lets the settle out solids and let cleaner water go on out to the flood controls. So under normal circumstances, Mr. Anderson, I don't really think that large things would have made it in there. But I could see with high water and a lot of velocity where it could have washed these things over the top of the vegetation.
Okay. Can you possibly have, without incurring a lot of cost, look at maybe something that would hinder? Because I mean,
oh, absolutely.
We got a big rain, but it's not an unheard of amount of rain here. And I just don't want to see this again. I don't know, sharpening the impellers so it chops them up or something. But
yeah, no.
If we can reduce the size of the grate or look at something,
Look at that.
just maybe for future reference. And
we absolutely plan to take another look at that when the water level goes down. Believe you me, I don't want to stand up here with these repairs any more than I have to.
Robert?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on what Ben just said, is if there was some type of an electrical device that could also see that surge, that over amperage that would shut those down, like a fuse of some sort.
There was, and those failed as well inside the control.
How old were those?
Well, the same
age as the motor.
Same
so it's
age.
part of the motor.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's part of the control system.
Okay.
And so that leads us to believe that, like I said, when I called the manufacturer, they said, yes, the baseballs could have caused this, but we don't know whether the lightning, we don't know what happened during the storm. All we know is we showed up, they weren't running. And those features did fail as well.
Matt?
You feel confident the one pump will last till these get fixed?
Sure, because it has to.
Does this pump into the flood control?
Yes.
Dale?
I remember this being built, and I seem to remember there's a fail-safe. If all three pumps fail, there's actually a spillway that goes into that.
And so the detection pond, that's at large. I mean, it's a massive area that, that water. I mean, I think at the most, which was just recently since I've been here anyways, I mean, it was, how many inches? Maybe a foot, maybe. And it could handle, I mean.
During this time, I would say maybe there was, during this time, I bet maybe there was 2 or 3 feet in there, maybe.
Right.
But yes, there is a low spot in the back of that detention area. And so it is designed so if it gets high enough, it'll go over the spillway area and run on out. But it holds a massive amount of water before it gets there.
And we would we would throw pumps in. I mean, that we would throw temporary pumps and trash pump. I mean, every pump that we get our hands on and pump that back over into the ditch. So.
Motion to approve the 2 quotes from MEM Industrial for 2 Ford flood control pumps in the amount of $37,024.52 each, totaling $74,049.04. And authorize the mayor or city administrator to sign it.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the Ford flood control pump repair. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify for raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to staff reports. Now,
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Just a couple quick updates. Our comprehensive plan is moving along. Planning and Zoning and the steering committee will be meeting Thursday night this week to review it. Then the next step will be our public hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for January 28th. And then it'll come to the council for adoption February 4th is the current planned schedule. I should have mentioned this last time, but if you haven't noticed, if you haven't been up North on Meridian 93rd, dirt is moving for Harvest Place. Not right now, but it's a mud hole. But there's dirt that has been moved there for that to start. And then just to get it on your calendars before the week of, Hometown Christmas is December 7th.
thank you. Neil? I have a couple questions for you then. How we coming on the cemetery signs?
Cemetery sign was received this week. We called it for locates. Plan to try to get it in as soon as it's reasonably dry out there. Maybe possibly this week. So,
Okay, thank you. Also, I guess, well, you're part of that, so I'll ask you, did the letters get sent out to the plot owners about all the changes and everything, so we don't have any surprises? Yeah, I talked to just drew a blank. Angie about it. She said she had them ready. She,
talking about Amanda, that was here.
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. Okay, just curious. Thank you. Lloyd? Rodney?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Streetlights for North Meridian still on schedule?
Still, no changes. The ship date is December 6th.
Who will install those?
The Pearson or their
Pearson will.
subcontractors, yes.
Thank you. It's really dark along that street.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
Nothing for PEC. Barry?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Clint? Chrissy?
Very busy time coming into the end of the year. Tomorrow morning, we're having our open enrollment for our benefits to go over everything with the employees that are they needing to make any changes. So that is tomorrow morning. We've got a Try It You Like It for our wellness program. We've got a Lunch and Learn for our wellness program. We have the chili cook-off coming up in December, the Wednesday before Christmas. We're packing a whole lot in here. We had a biometric screening last week. Busy, busy time. So bear with us, and Christmas party coming up for our staff and council. So busy time of the year.
Britt?
Okay.
Nothing. Okay, moving on to governing body reports. I don't have anything this time. And we list. Ron?
Yeah, I only have two announcements. One is, starting first, December, state government building, and I'll try to keep you up to date. One of them I'm interested in is the financial end. And I think, go ahead.
So it'll be the first time in Kansas history that there'll be 3 different budgets presented. As far as the governor is coming up with her budget, which normally no matter what party has ever, it's always the governor's budget with input from everybody. But now the House is coming up with their own and the Senate's coming up with their own, and they're going to debate all 3 with every single bill that comes up related back to the budget. And so it's never been done in the history. No one knows how it's going to go, and everyone is patiently excited, terrified, and all the above. And there's going to be a lot going on in Topeka. I just was 3 hours today on a legislative update with the league, with the Association of Counties and KMU down at Wichita State. And they're all 3. They've been doing this for, I think, combined. Each one of them is 25 plus years here. And there you go. It's never been done. We don't know how it's going to go. And hold on tight, because it's going to trickle down and affect you and only you, not the state, but us.
The only other thing I got to bring up is some people have asked me when I was going into the hospital and whatnot. The doctor said no. So if anybody's curious, I'm going to stay with me.
Robert?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Clint?
Nothing for me.
Dan?
No, thank you.
Gina?
Well, I attended a lot of meetings. It's a busy time of the year here too. Local Emergency Planning Committee, we had an excellent program from Evergy about handling electricity safely. It was very informative. Friday, we had a Main Street meeting. Yes, we are going to have our tree lighting on December 7th with Santa. And we're still working hard to beautify Main Street Valley Center. So ideas and money are welcome. And Saturday was Sedgwick County Association of Cities. And Ryan Beatty did make a presentation about the county budget, which was pathetic. Not his presentation, but the budget. But we also got to tour Clinic in a Can, which is a manufacturing facility in Bel Air. And it is very impressive. Clinic in a Can. It's shipping containers turned into clinics. And sent all over the world. He's got a couple going to California this week, I think, but has sent many to Bolivia and Ukraine, and all around the world.
Dale?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Matt?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Lloyd.
Chris is